Should Overwatch go with 6 versus 6 again or stay with the 5 versus 5? Blizzard are considering bringing back the 6 versus 6. There are reasons for that they actually made it, made the decision to go to 5 versus 5, and why they're actually considering moving back. So, what do you think, and what are advantages of actually having 5 versus 5 compared to 6 versus 6? In this video, we're going to talk about that, and I want to hear your opinion in the comment section below, your thoughts about that. So let's begin. So first of all, what Blizzard are saying, this is on blizzard.com, talking about the title is Director's Take, opening up the conversation on 5 versus 5 and 6 versus 6. And in there, they're mentioning under why we switched to 5 versus 5, they say the greater individual agency that players could have in 5 versus 5. They say many times fights in 6 versus 6 couldn't resolve until ultimate abilities came online, corrected until ultimate combos could be executed to break through 2 tanks worth of mitigation supported by high uncontested healing output. They also mentioned that support heroes also had to focus almost exclusively on healing since there were bigger team health pools and more incoming damage on the field with the additional tank player. In 5 versus 5 they have more agency to add some damage or duel other heroes. They also mentioned that tank synergy wasn't always fun, it slowed the game down and stabilizes it, but sometimes it absolutely ground it to a halt. They also mentioned that especially in game modes that requires a team to push through a small choke causes a lot of matches to feel like there was no progress at all. So they say while 6 versus 6 can have high moments, it's also hard to follow. Tracking 9 other players is easier than 11. There are fewer visual effects on screen, especially during big team fights. Overwatch is a pretty demanding game, and moving to 5 versus 5 made it a bit more cognitively manageable. They also mentioned that when they shift to 5 versus 5 role queue, this dramatically reduced the queue times for players in all roles. Alright, I'm going to add more in a moment, but first of all, the core reasons are reduced queue times, improved gameplay experience, decreasing individual impact, faster pace, reduced visual clutter, enhanced support role. This also addresses the tank meta dominance, also solves some balancing difficulties, but it's also brought drawbacks including reducing team synergy, increasing pressure on remaining players, impact on tank role. And what you can understand from all that it's very hard to balance such a game, both again to make it fun for players who are playing different roles, making sure that they get fast queue time so they can actually play relatively fast, and make the game visually comfortable for players, not just by the way to play, but also as an esport. And I actually think that that's one of the big problems for Overwatch when it comes to esport, that it's very hard to watch. I think one of the reasons that Overwatch is not really succeeding enough when it comes to esport is because of the clutter on the screen. It's very hard to watch. I mean, I played, of course, and I can do well understanding what's going on, even it's very fast-paced, especially when you get more experience. But as a viewer, even though I played the game, as a viewer, I found it very, very confusing. Monkey jumps from this side and zapping, and then behind you, and all the visual effects. It's so hard. Now, Blizzard did make changes to the colors when playing in competitions and esport to make it easier for players to understand what's going on. But again, still, I watched that, even with those changes, it's still a very hard game to follow. But in other aspects, if you take the action from the game, many people just not like the game. Some people just love all this action that's happening. That's what makes the game exciting for many players. So again, it's harder to create a structured game, a more strategic structured game like that, where again everything's so chaotic. That's why they made those game modes specifically to try to address that and make the game feel strategic and fun even with all that chaos. And that's, by the way, the reason I play other games like Predecessor, which is a third-person MOBA game, which again is much slower, of course. It's a MOBA game, and once you're able to pull out a great move, it feels very satisfying, while not being something that you get to crazy group fights every single second. So again, you can take the fun from the adrenaline rush that you feel when you're playing fast-paced game. It's like driving a fast car compared to just chilling out and driving a slow car. the pace of the game, everything fast, really give you adrenaline rush. You feel excited, and players want that. That's the reason that I love playing such games. So yeah, many players do love that, love the chaos, love the excitement, but I do feel also that 6 versus 6 give you a more sense of there's somebody to rely on, because with 5 versus 5 there's lots of things on your shoulder, and if you're not doing well, people just be very dissatisfied with your role, because you need to do your role well. Each role feels it is very, very important. And in many situations when you play 6 versus 6, you find more stabilization. If your players can play well, you can compensate for somebody who's not playing well. But again, if it's somebody in your team is not playing well, it's like somebody's like AFK in a MOBA game. Everything just falls apart. Now the thing is that this is important discussion. Now Blizzard of course can go back to 6 versus 6 and do some balancing and other stuff to make it work again, not again, but to make it work. Or if they do it and it fails, maybe it's just gonna go back to 5 versus 5 and it's just gonna stick forever. The only thing that it showed that it's very, very hard to make a choice. But yeah, I mean, I shared my opinion, also what Blizzard are thinking. I think actually the game is, again, when it comes to esport, I really love watching esport, the games I enjoy playing, but I don't watch Overwatch at all because it's just so not fun to watch, and I feel bad about that. Whether, for example, when it comes to MOBA games, I enjoy it a lot. Also feel that in some situation, even ranked felt very frustrating to me in something like that, especially if you're playing alone and you're not playing with a team, or if you're not really a kind of alpha player or doing very well and can just carry the team. It can be very frustrating. Now for me, again, I stopped playing Overwatch for quite some time, went back today, actually downloaded it again and decided to play it again, because there isn't any other hero shooter that I'm playing right now. We'll see how Marvel Riva is going to be. It seems very chaotic, even much more chaotic than Overwatch, but I need to play it and see. I haven't played yet. Yeah, I played Concord as well. Things more, let's say, toned down compared to both Overwatch and what I've seen in Rivas, and I did play Concord, so the slower pace actually felt good, by the way. I know what you think about Concord. If you want to repeat it in the comment section below, for better or for worse. I personally enjoyed it, but again, I want to hear your opinion. What are your thoughts about 5 versus 5 and 6 versus 6? Which one you prefer? And please state the reasons why. Let's discuss it there in the comment section. Thanks for watching.